In this video, we will learn about ellipses. So altogether, we have three main learning objectives for this subtopic. First, to determine the equation of ellipse. And then next one, to determine all the vertices, foci, major and minor axes. And last one, to determine the center and foci of an ellipse by using completing the square method. So let's go through first. Basically, for ellipse, we would have two different equations in the form of general equation and standard equation of an ellipse. So, same as circle. From general equation, we will use completing the square method to convert it into standard equation of an ellipse. Okay. Okay. So, for ellipse, we would have two different main shape based on the major axis. So these are the shape for horizontal major axis. So let's go through it one by one. So for ellipse, there are 7 fixed points that need to be labeled. So the first one would be center, where center lies in the middle of our ellipse. And notation that we will use here would be HK. How do we get this center? We can obtain it directly from the standard equation. I name it our formula now. Our standard equation of an ellipse will be x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equal to 1. It's fixed. 1. Alright, so HK for the center, we can obtain from the standard equation. Alright, next one, we have 4 vertices that need to be labeled. First one would be the major vertices come from the major axis. So if we have horizontal major axis, so vertices lies parallel with x-axis. So now I label it as V1 and V2. So how do we obtain this point? We can find from the center because fixed distance from a center to our vertices on that parallel to x-axis would be A. So jarak antara center pergi ke major vertex in this case would be A. Sentiasa A kalau yang parallel dengan paksi X. Okay? Alright. So now for V1, so now kita kena fikir secara logically. Between C to V1, only X coordinate that would change. X coordinate je yang akan berubah. Y coordinate would be fixed. Dia tak akan bergerak sekarang ni untuk Y coordinate. So, our coordinate for V1 would be, dia bergerak ke kiri. So, X akan pergi makin ke arah kiri, X akan berkurang. That's why our coordinate would be H minus A, K. So, itu coordinate untuk V1. And for coordinate for V2, dia akan bergerak ke kanan. So, H akan bertambah sebanyak A. So that's why we have H plus A K. Okay. Next one, we would have vertices on minor axis. So I label as V3 and V4. Okay. So distance between center with V3 and V4, it fixed B. Jarak dia sentiasa huruf B. Okay, so means now logically from C to V3, X coordinate would be fixed while Y coordinate would have to change. X coordinate akan fix kat sini, dia tak bergerak X, Y yang akan bergerak. Okay, so coordinate for V3 would be H, maintain. So K plus B sebab dia bergerak ke atas. Alright. Now, for V4, sama juga. H akan fix sebab X tak bergerak. And then for Y coordinate, K minus B sebab dia bergerak ke bawah from center. Okay. So, now we already have 5 main points. Okay, another 2 points because I just said just now we have 7 main points. We have to label foci. Okay, foci always lies on major axis. Foci sentiasa terletak kat paksi major. Okay, in this case, it would be parallel to x-axis. Okay, where's foci? So, it lies between vertices in major axis and center. Dia terletak antara center dengan vertex di paksi major. But, kena ingat, dia bukannya titik tengah. So, distance between center to foci, saya highlight tu colour kuning, distance jarak antara center pergi ke foci would be C, huruf C. Kat situ saya guna C kecil lah. Okay, dia bukannya titik tengah. Ingat, foci bukan titik tengah. Titik tengah kita center. So, foci dia tak duduk tengah-tengah antara vertex dengan center. Jarak dia sentiasa huruf C. C kecil lah kita guna kat situ. So, how do we obtain C? Okay, so C depends on siapa yang major. So, kalau sekarang ni major kita is A, maksudnya A lagi panjang daripada B. So, in order to find C, it's basically A squared minus B squared. Yang panjang tu lah yang pendek. A squared minus B squared. Alright, so now coordinate for foci. So, ikut logik tadi juga. X coordinate will change. Y coordinate would be fixed. X yang bergerak, Y tak bergerak. Okay, so coordinate for F1 in this case would be H minus C, K. And coordinate for F2, foci kita would be H plus C, K. Alright, so that's all 7 main points for ellipses that need to be labeled. Okay, so this is when we have horizontal major axis. Okay, now if we have vertical major axis, so shape dia akan macam ni, shape kita menegak. Our standard equation would be the same. Standard equation takkan berubah, x minus h squared over a squared plus with y minus k squared over b squared equal to 1. But in this case, B would be major. B yang akan jadi paksi yang major. So, B yang akan jadi lagi panjang. Sebab B yang lagi panjang, in order to find C, it would be B squared minus A squared. Dia jadi terbalik kat situ. Siapa yang panjang, tolak pendek. Kedudukan A dengan B takkan berubah. So, saya terus label kat sini tadi. A parallel with x-axis. And then we have B. B would be parallel with y-axis. Okay. Center still lies in the middle. So, our center is still HK. Now, vertices, major vertices lies on y-axis. Dia dah parallel dengan paksi y sebab yang menegak yang panjang. So, itu yang akan jadi major vertex. Saya label sebagai V1, V2. Actually, siapa yang jadi V1, V2 dia tak kisah sebenarnya. Yang penting awak mesti label koordinat tu dengan betul. Alright. So, same as before. Now, dia takkan berubah tadi kan? So, X akan stay. That's why H. Y koordinat yang bergerak. So, K plus B. So, for V2, H, K minus B. Okay. Next, kita ada minor vertices. Dia parallel with x-axis. Kita ada V3 and V4. Fikir secara logik je. Jangan hafal tau siapa nak plus, siapa nak minus ni. Okay, for V3, x koordinat yang akan bergerak, y would be fixed. Okay, so for V3, we would have H minus A, K. And V4, H plus A, K. Okay. Last one, we have foci. Okay, yang ni kena hati-hati. Foci always lies on major axis. So, sekarang tadi, B yang lagi panjang. Itu yang jadi major. So, foci akan duduk dekat situ. So, we would have now F1 and F2. Sekejap ya. Alright, F1 here, F2. And same as before. Distance between foci to center would be C. Small c. Saya guna huruf C kecil. Okay. So now, coordinate for foci, ingat, H takkan bergerak. sebab X takkan bergerak. So H, K plus C. And for F2, we would have H, K minus C. Alright. So that's all 7 points on ellipses. So kita kena ingat kat situ lah. Where is A? Where is B? How to find C? And then from there, we know the center. And we can allocate all 4 points of vertices and 2 points of foci. Okay. So let's do some example. Alright. Example 8. We have to find the center, vertices, focus, length of major and minor axis for the following ellipse and sketch its graph. Okay, so our equation is x squared over 25 plus y squared over 9 equal to 1. So if I compare with our standard equation, we would have x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equal to 1. And as before, center is basically HK. In this case, our center would be 0, 0 at the origin. Okay. Next one. A squared in this case is 25. B squared is 9, means that our major axis would be A because A is longer. To find C, it would be A squared minus B squared. So we have 25 minus 9. C in this case would be 4. Okay. I just also note here A in this case is 5. B is 3, so that we can find all the coordinate for vertices and foci. Alright, we may start sketch the graph. So what I advise here, try to sketch the shape of our ellipse first before we plot the points. If you do it the other way around, plot the point first and then sketch the ellipse, sometimes kita takkan dapat shape ellipse yang cantik. So nasihat saya, lukis dulu bentuk ellipse baru kita label koordinat. Daripada kita pergi label dulu koordinat, lepas tu baru kita nak sambungkan bentuk ellipse. Nanti dapat ellipse tu tak cantik lah. Okay, so now remember we have horizontal major axis. So shape kita akan jadi shape horizontal ya. Bolehlah tu kira halal. Alright, so now our center coincidentally lies at the origin. Okay, senang sebab kita punya center duduk tengah-tengah. Kosong-kosong. Kita dah boleh label terus. Alright, so I label here center is 0, 0. Okay. Alright, now first kita label dulu major vertex. So we have V1. And then we have V2. V2. So, di coordinate, ingat, itu distance dia huruf A. So, A is 5. So, C go to V1. X coordinate would change. Y coordinate would be fixed. So, here coordinate for V1 would be negative 5, 0. And for V2, coordinate would be 5, 0. Okay. Next one. V3 and V4. So V3 above, V4 below center. If you want to label it the other way around also possible. Tak kisah pun sebenarnya kat sini. Okay. So for V3, ingat distance would be value of B3. Jarak dia huruf 3 tu. Y yang akan bergerak. X would be fixed. So V3 would be 0, 3. And for V4, we would have 0, negative 3. And then last one, kita kena level foci. So for foci, it is F1 and F2. Remember, our distance will be C. Small c. C is 4. So for F1, coordinate would be negative 4, 0. And for F2, 4, 0. So that's all 7 points on our ellipse. Okay. Last one question asks for length of major and minor. Okay. So for length of major, careful. So half of it is A. Saya try highlight. Okay. Separuh ni paksi major. Separuh yang saya highlight color kuning tu A. Alright. So kalau kita nak panjang, dia nak semua. The whole ni. Means length of major would be 2A lah. Okay, kita tulis kat sini. Length of major. In this case 2A. So here it will be 10. So length of minor kat sini yang pendek dia huruf B. Saya highlight cuba colour biru. Alright. Half to B. So the whole length would be 2B. So length of minor axis would be 2B. In this case, our answer would be 6. Okay. So that's for first example of ellipse. Let's check another example. Say, slightly different. We have x squared over 16 plus y squared over 25 equal to 1. So once again, if I compare it with standard equation of ellipse, we have x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equal to 1. So from here, clearly our center once again is 0, 0 at the origin. A in this case is 4. B is 5. So in order to find C, because B is major now, B is longer than A. So we have to do B squared minus A squared. In this case, we would obtain C is still 3. Tapi kat sini dia dah berubah sikit sebab B yang lagi panjang. So now we would have vertical ellipse. Alright, so try to sketch the graph. Okay, saya cuba juga lukis. Ellipse saya tak berapa nak cantik, harap difahami tapi okey lah tu. Okay, and then sama juga seperti tadi, kita adjust paksi. Now it is quite easy once again because our axis lies at the origin. Dia duduk kat tengah-tengah, center is 0, 0. Okay, so same as before, we have first 2 point V1 and V2, but now it lies on B axis. Dia jarak tu kat B sebab B yang lagi panjang. Itu yang akan jadi major sekarang. So remember our distance is B. B is now 5. So V1 will be 5, 0. Sorry. Saya yang buat salah. Okay. So our distance from center to V1 is 5. Okay, remember x coordinate would be fixed, y coordinate would change. So here V1 would be 0, 5. And V2 will be 0, negative 5. Okay, next one on minor axis. Paksi minor, kita ada V3 and V4. Distance is still A. A just now is 4. Okay, so for V3, we would have negative 4, 0. And for V4, we would have 4, 0. Last one for foci. So for F1, it lies on major axis. So now lies on B. Ingat dia duduk atas B. Jangan tersalah label. So coordinate for F1, our distance is C. So 3. It will be 0, 3. And then coordinate for F2 will be 0, negative 3. Okay. And last part. Question asks for length of major and minor axis. So length for major axis will be now 2B because B is longer. So it is 10. And length for minor axis will be 2A. So in this case, it would be 8. Okay. Settle. So now we try to upgrade another level when our center is not at the origin. Konsep dia sama tapi kita try pula jawab kalau center kita bukan dekat origin. Susah tak nak adjust point tu sebenarnya. Okay, now kita try C. X minus 2 squared over 4 plus Y minus 5 squared over 16. Sama juga. First compare untuk dapat center. Ingat center is HK. So in this case our center will be 2, 5. Alright, kita dah dapat center. Now, obtain the value of A. A in this case is 2. B in this case is 4. So, B yang lebih besar daripada A. In order to find C, B squared minus A squared. So, 16 minus 4. So, we get cert 12 here as our C. Quite complicated sikit lah sebab dia cert kat situ. So, leave it as it is Mesti guna cert. Jangan pergi ambil decimal. Awak akan mengconfusekan diri awak sendirilah. Okay. So, since B is longer than A, B would be the major axis. So, we would have vertical ellipse. Okay, ellipse kita ellipse yang berdiri. Sekejap. Saya adjust tak cantik pula ellipse tu. Ellipse yang berdiri. Okay, bolehlah tu. Alright, and then we have to adjust the axis. Okay, kat sini because we don't know where 0, 0 lies. Kita tak tahu kat mana 0, 0. Tak payah label dulu 0, 0 tu. Kita adjust kemudian nanti. Okay, kita label dulu semua koordinat yang kita tahu. Start with our center. So, center in the middle, we would have 2, 5. Okay. Next one, V1 and V2 lies on major. Ingat sekarang B yang major, so dia ada dengan paksi B. So V1, ingat Y coordinate yang bergerak X fix. So X ada 2, distance is 4. So we have to 9. Okay. For V2 sama juga X fix Y yang bergerak. So we will get 2, 1. Because distance tadi 4. So, 5 tambah 4 dapat 9. 5 tolak 4 dapat 1. Settle for major. Now, move on to minor. So, for V3 and V4, the other way around, X yang bergerak, Y fix. So, distance is A. A is 2. So, 2 tolak 2, kita akan dapat 0, 5. Y fix, ingat. So, 2 tambah 2, kita akan dapat 4. So, 4, 5. And last one, jangan lupa we have to label foci. Kita ada F1 and F2. It lies on major sebab tu dia atas paksi B. F1 and F2. So for F1, jarak kita huruf C. C tadi cert 12. Okay. So kat sini hati-hati. Tadi saya dah pesan jangan ambil decimal. Biar kat dalam Z value cert. X coordinate fix. So dia jadi 2. Y coordinate dia plus kan sebab duduk atas F1 tu. So 5 plus 12. Leave it as it is. Biar je macam tu. Okay. So for F2 sama juga. So 2 fix. 5 minus 12. Biar je koordinat tu dalam set. Jangan risaulah. Dia okay je. Alright. Settle. So last one. We have to label the origin. Pasti mesti label sebab soalan ask us to sketch. Okay. So kat sini tadi 0. Kita dah tahu V3 lies on 0. So kat situ dia mesti sentuh lah X equal to 0. So kita ada paksi Y kat situ. And then kita ada V2 tu 2, 1. So Y equal to 1 kat situ maksudnya Y equal to 0 bawah dia. Dia tak sentuh paksi X lah. Dia terapung sikit. So kat situlah kita punya origin 0, 0. Easier if kita lukis dulu, label all the points, baru adjust origin yang dekat mana. Lagi cantik lah, senang sikit awak nak adjust benda tu. So make sure you label all 7 points. After that you adjust our origin. Okay. And don't forget last part, the question asks to find the length of major and minor. So in this case, length of major would be, siapa panjang? B lagi panjang. So 2B. In this case, we get 8. And then length for minor is 2A. Means in this case, we would have 4. So that's for first part of ellipse. From the equation, we have to find all the coordinates and then sketch our ellipse. Okay. Next one. We have to find the center, vertices and foci of ellipse from the standard equation. Okay, so remember here what we discussed just now. From general equation ellipse, how do I know this is general equation? Because it is equal to 0. Kalau dia equal to 0 je, confirm dia bentuk general lah. Dia tak ada bracket-bracket, dia tak ada pecahan. Dia confirm general. So, in order to find center, vertices, foci, nak cari tu semua, kita memang kena convert into standard. From general, tak boleh nak cari. Okay, so to convert into standard equation, tak ada cara lain. You must perform completing this square. Mesti guna CTS. Tak ada cara lain. Okay, so recap back lah. In circle, kita dah recap CTS. Harapnya kat sini awak ingat lagi macam mana nak buat CTS. So, back to the basic. First step, separate our variable. So first bracket for x variable. So we have 4x squared minus 16x. Alright. Second bracket for the second variable, we have y squared minus 10y. Constant, bring it to the right side. So we have minus 25. Next, check whether you can straight away start the CTS. So in order to start the completing this squared, make sure we have single coefficient 1 as our coefficient for x squared and y squared. Maksudnya perkali kepada x squared dengan y squared mesti 1. Kalau bukan 1, you have to factorize it out. In this case, for x squared ada 4. Bukan 1 kat situ. So you have to factorize it first before buat CTS. Tak boleh terus dibuat CTS kat sini Okay, so because kita ada 4 kat situ, tak boleh saya kena factorize keluar. So that's how we get 4x squared minus 4x. Okay, untuk y dia memang dah exactly 1, so tak perlu gerak apa-apa. Copy back je. Alright, now kita dah boleh start buat CTS for x variable, 4 stay as it is. So what do we have here? X minus 2 squared minus 4. And then for y variable, we would have y minus 5 squared minus 25 equal to negative 25. Okay. Next, kembangkan balik. All constant, we bring it to our right side. So we have 4 times with x minus 2 squared plus y minus 5 squared equal to, so all constant, I bring it to right side. That's how we obtain 16. Hati-hati awak kena kembangkan ni. Kejap, saya highlight. 4 times 4 ni. So, dia dapat negative 16. I bring it to right side. That's how we get 16. Negative 25 plus 25, dia dah cancel out habis. So, last part. To obtain standard equation for ellipse, our right side must be 1. Okay, nak dapatkan standard equation ellipse, bahagian kanan mesti 1. Dia tak boleh tak, mesti 1. Itu fix dia. So, in order to get 1 from 16, we have to divide by 16. Itulah yang kita buat. Semuanya divide by 16 now. And simplify our equation. That's how finally we get x minus 2 squared over 4 plus with y minus 5 squared over 16 equal to 1. Dah cantik dapat 1. Nampak ada pecahan-pecahan. That would be the standard equation for ellipse. Okay. Dah settle. Next, we have to obtain the center and vertices and foci. Okay, semua koordinat tu kita nak kena cari. Okay, tapi soalan tak suruh sketch. Okay, but to avoid confuse, awak bolehlah sketch, tak ada masalah. But first, kita pergi satu-satu. So, for center. Center is HK. Tak ada masalah kat sini. Semua terus nampak. It is 2, 5. Alright. So, A is 2. B is 4. Maksudnya B greater than A. So, in order to find C, so B squared minus A squared. So, we have set 12 here. Okay. Dah dapat cantik. From here, we have to find all the points. Okay. So, sama macam tadi ni. Kebetulan soalan dia lebih kurang kan. So, for V1 and V2, kalau rasa tak nampak, awak bolehlah sketch kecil kat situ. Awak tahulah, okay. V1, V2. Means that X coordinate yang akan bergerak. Sorry, X coordinate would be fixed. Y coordinate yang akan bergerak. So, V1 in this case would be 2. Distance is B tadi, 5. So, 2, 9. V2 in this case, dia turun ke bawah kan? So, 2, 1. Okay. V3 and V4, ingat, dia duduk kiri dengan kanan for minor. Distance is A. So, V3 would be, ingat, X pula yang bergerak. So, 0, 5. And then for V4, we have 4, 5. Okay. Settle. And then last one, kita akan pergi kepada foci. So, F1, dia duduk atas center. Atas part CB because itu yang major. Distance is huruf C. C tadi set 12. So, F1 in this case will be 2. 5 plus set 12. And then F2 will be 2. 5 minus set 12. Okay. So that's all 7 points for ellipse. Itu yang soalan suruh carilah. Center, all 4 vertices, and then we have 2 foci. Foci ni plural, singular dia sebut focus. Satu fokus, 2 foci. Okay. That's first example. Kita try another one. When it comes to horizontal pula, saya rasa yang ni. Okay. So, same as before. This is general. Dia tak ada bracket-bracket square tu kan. So, we have to convert into standard equation. Okay. So, first bracket, x variable. So, we have x squared plus 2x. Second bracket, y variable. Make sure coefficient is 1. So, ada 4 kat situ. Saya factorize siap-siap ya. 4 y squared minus 4 equal to 8. Now we may start our completing this square. Okay, so we would have x plus 1 squared minus 1 plus with 4 times 4. Completing this square process for y variable, we have y minus 2 squared minus 4 equal to 8. So finally, rearrange, bring all constant to our right side. So we would have 1 plus 16, 17, plus with 8. So we have 25. Okay. So last step, in order to make sure our right side is 1, everything must be divided by 25. So finally, our standard ellipse would be x plus 1 squared over 25 plus with, okay, so careful here. In front of our bracket, tak boleh ada apa-apa constant. Dia duduk kat bawah tu. Awak kena convert dia ke bawah so that awak baru dapat value B yang betul. So, in this case, it is 25 over 4. Itu bentuk standard ellipse dia lah. Value of B squared is 25 over 4. Okay, equal to 1. Okay, settle. So, just make sure dia mesti 1 on our right side. In the middle mesti plus. Kalau masa proses simplify tu, tiba-tiba kat tengah-tengah tu dah jadi minus, something wrong lah. Itu bukan standard ellipse Dia mesti plus. Right side mesti 1. Okay. So now, we have to identify center and all 7 points. The other 6 points. Okay. So A squared in this case is 25. So A would be 5. Okay. B squared is 25 over 4. So B would be 5 over 2. So A is longer, means in order to find C squared, it's B squared minus A squared. 25 over 4 minus, 25 minus 25 over 4. Saya pula yang terbalik. Hati-hati So 25 minus 25 over 4. Here you should get C is 5 sec 3 over 2. Nombor dia pelik sikit lah pecahan, tapi it's still a constant. Jangan risau kat situ. Okay. And then now we may deduce all the point. Okay, we start with center first. So center is HK, means coordinate center would be negative 1, 2. Alright, A is longer than B. So dia shape macam ni. Ingat, V1 and V2 is our measure now. Distance is A. So V1, x coordinate would change. Y would stay. So negative 1 minus with A. So A is 5. So negative 1 minus 5, we get negative 6. 2. So for V2, we have to add with 5. So we get 4, 2. So for V3 and V4, distance would be B. So for V3, remember, y coordinate would change, x would be fixed. So negative 1. 2, our distance is B. So 2 plus 5 over 2. So we get 9 over 2. And then for V4, 2 minus 5 over 2. So we have negative half. Okay, settle. Last one, our foci. F1, F2, remember, lies on major axis. So, distance is C. Our x coordinate would change. So, for x coordinate, we would have negative 1 minus 5 sec 3 over 2. 2. And for F2, we would have -1 plus 5 sec 3 over 2, 2. So that's all 7 coordinates for this ellipse. A bit tedious is involving fraction, but then if you understand the concept, yang mana satu A, yang mana satu B, yang mana C, jarak pergi mana nak dapatkan vertex, mana V1, V2, V3, V4, F1, F2. Awak takkan confuse dah benda tu, you should be okay. Alright, so next pattern of our ellipse question would be, they provide some info, the coordinate. From here, we have to determine the equation of our ellipse. Okay, so now, first example, we have to determine the equation. Given that the center is 1, 3, we already know our HK. Okay, that's given, HK. And then we have a vertex and focus. Okay, in order to solve this pattern, we won't use any formula. You have to use your logic. Kita kena guna fikiran logik je. Try to plot the points. Okay. I write first our standard equation of ellipse. X minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equal to 1. So problem now, we already obtained h and k. A and b yang kita tak tahu. Okay. So try to plot the given point. So first we have the center. Center is at 1, 3. Next, we have a vertex. Vertex at 5, 3. Okay, so x coordinate change. Y fix kan? Saya try plot je ni. 5, 3 is our V. And then last one kita ada focus at 3, 3. Okay, so what do we understand from this point? Because F now parallel at x-axis, maksudnya A is longer than B. Sebab dia duduk atas paksi A sekarang ni, focus. And we know distance between C and F is small c. Betul? So, ini small c. Distance is 2. Okay. Next one. Distance between center goes to vertex would be A. Jarak dia mesti huruf A. And our distance now is 4. So, if we have A and C, we don't have problem to find B. Because from the formula, if A is greater than B, means C squared is basically A squared minus B squared. So, C squared in this, C squared in this case is 4. A squared is 16 minus B squared. So, B squared in this case would be 12. Alright. Dah dapat semua ni, bolehlah masuk terus dalam equation ellipse. So, finally, our answer would be x minus 1 squared over A squared, so over 16, plus with y minus k, so y minus 3 squared over B squared. B squared we obtained just now, 12, equal to 1. Dia tak ada jalan kerja tedious, kita pakai logik je. How we determine A and C. From there, you can find B. After that, straight away dapat terus equation. Dia macam tu je lah konsep dia. Dia tak ada step-step Okay, we try another example. We have a vertices as -3, -2 and -3, 6. Okay, I try to plot a point. So, first one, vertices we have at -3 and 6. Second one will be at -3, -2. After that, we have a focus here at -3, 4, somewhere here. -3, 4 is our focus. So, from here, we have to find the equation of ellipse. Alright, so given now, we know that the focus lies on B axis. Dia duduk atas paksi B sekarang. So, apa yang kita tahu kalau dia duduk atas paksi B? B must be major. Means from here, we know B is longer than A. So, to find C squared, it would be B squared minus A squared. Okay, kita dah tahu yang tu. Alright, next, we know center always the midpoint between two vertices. Now, kita dah tahu V1 and V2. So, center would lies in the middle. So, to find center, we can simply use midpoint formula. So, we have -3 plus -3 over 2. And then for y coordinate would be 6 plus -2 over 2. So our center here would be negative 3, 2. Okay. So I label it here negative 3, 2. Next. So distance between center to one of the vertices would be B. So from here now we know negative 3, 2 goes to negative 3, negative 2. Distance would be 4. So our B here is 4. And last one, distance between center to focus would be C, small c here. So our C in this case is 2. So in order to find A, just simply substitute into our formula just now. C squared is basically B squared minus A squared. Why? Because now B is major. Because focus lie on B axis. So C squared is 4. B squared is 16. And A squared is what we need to find. In this case, A squared is 12. Already find A, now we can simply substitute into standard equation of an ellipse. So we have x minus h, so x plus 3 squared over A squared, so over 12, plus with y minus k, so y minus 2 squared over B squared, our B squared is 16, equal to 1. So that's how we find equation of an ellipse. Okay, next situation. We have a foci at negative 2, 3 and 4, 3. Okay, once again, try to plot the points. So we have first one is negative 2, 3. Another one, change x coordinate. So now we know our foci lies on A axis. Dia duduk atas paksi A. So A must be greater than B. Itu hint paling penting. Awak mesti tahu siapa lagi panjang. Okay. And then length of major axis is 10. Remember, length must be double of A. Sekarang ni A yang kita dah tahu length of major. Okay. So if 2A is 10, A must be 5. Alright. So now once again, in the middle between two foci would be center. Center sentiasa duduk tengah-tengah. So using the same formula of midpoint, we can find the coordinate of center. So we have negative 2 plus 4 over 2 and 3 plus 3 over 2. So coordinate for center in this case would be 1, 3. Alright. Distance between center to one coordinate of a focus would be small c. Remember, c in this case would be 3. Jarak dia tu kan, 1, 3 pergi 4, 3. A is 5. A is major. So, in order to find c squared, it is A squared minus B squared. Sebab A yang lagi panjang. So, c squared is 9. A squared is 25. B is what we need to find. So in this case, B squared would be 16. Complete all this info. Now we can straight away substitute to find standard equation of an ellipse. So x minus h. H is coordinate for center. So x minus 1 squared over A squared. So A here just now is 25. Plus with y minus k. So y minus 3 squared over B squared, in this case 16, equal to 1. Last one. So we have a center at negative 1, negative 2. Okay, that is our HK. We try to plot the points once again. Center is at negative 1, negative 2. Okay, next one. We have one focus at negative 1, 5. Okay, x coordinate is same. Change at y coordinate means now focus lies on B axis. So B must be greater than A. Okay. Passing through the point 3, negative 2. Okay. Dia lalu je titik 3, negative 2. Kita problem sekarang kita tak tahu nilai B, kita tak tahu nilai A. We have a problem here. Tapi kita tahu value C. Small c tu, because distance between center to focus. Okay, that distance would be 7. Alright. So, because B is longer, so in order to find C squared, it would be B squared minus A squared. So, in this case, I substitute C because we have only that info. So, B squared minus A squared would be 49. That's our first equation. Alright, now we have center. We can substitute this into standard ellipse. So, this would be x plus 1 squared over A squared plus y minus k squared. So y plus 2 squared over b squared equal to 1. Okay, given a point on an ellipse, so means now we can only substitute this. We can only substitute this point, sorry, given a point on an ellipse, so we can substitute this into x and y of our ellipse. Kita gantikan kat tempat x dengan y dalam ellipse tu. So we would get 3 plus 1 squared over a squared plus negative 2 plus 2 squared over b squared equal to 1. Simplify this up, we would obtain 16 over a squared equal to 1. So a squared is basically 16. So once we obtain a squared, we can find b squared. So b squared is finally 49 minus 16. Sorry, 49 plus 16. In this case, it would be 65. So our equation of an ellipse would be x plus 1 squared over 16 plus with y plus 2 squared over 65 equal to 1. And that is an equation of an ellipse.